Hi guys, how are ya? Happy Tuesday, everybody. I'm gonna give this a quick share. Yay! I love that I have that option. So, how is everybody doing? Welcome in. Hi Lisa, how are ya? All right, you guys, it's Tuesday, but I gotta tell you, it feels like it already feels like Thursday. Does that make sense? Like yesterday was the longest Monday ever. Hey Katie, hey. Hi Suzanne. How's everybody doing? How's everybody feeling this Tuesday afternoon? Good afternoon, Kathy. So you guys are so funny. Yesterday on Facebook, I had posted I posted that I was what did I say? Well, I basically said I was boycotting Monday. Well, I wasn't really boycotting, but I was, I was showing Monday who was boss by not making my bed. Like, take that, Monday. I'm not gonna make my bed today. Oh my gosh. And I got so many messages. Everybody was like, are you okay? What's going on? Are you? And I'm like, I'm fine. I just don't like Mondays. Like, nothing's wrong. I don't like Mondays. Do you like Mondays? So to everybody who was worried if there was something wrong with me yesterday, no, I just don't like Mondays. I just generally am not a Monday kind of person. You guys are so funny. Oh, goodness. Hi, Nicole. Hi, everyone. So happy to see everybody here. There's Miss Teresa. How are ya? And Dawn. So, all right, last week for a Facebook Live, I don't remember which one it was, but while we were working on a live, someone had requested very kindly that we focus on pearls because, as I've been mentioning over the past couple of weeks, pearls are going to be absolutely huge for spring and summer this year. And that's a good thing because it's exciting when something that is considered a classic like pearls is going to be trending, because that means that your pieces of jewelry are going to get like a long run. You know what I mean? Instead of at the end of the season when that whole trend is over and you have to either tuck those away and wait for the trend to recycle, or you take the pieces apart and reuse the piecey parts for other things. Pearls being a classic means that the lifetime of your design is going to last forever. They call that the shelf life. The shelf life of your design is going to last when we get to focus on classics. And really exciting because pearls is one of those things that I feel like for the longest time there was a stigma attached to pearls as to whether or not you were too old or too young to wear pearls. And I think we have successfully busted through all of those what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to call them myths. That's not really the word. I'm having trouble looking for the correct word. We're busting through those preconceived notions about pearls. That is no longer the truth. And I always think back to Breakfast at Tiffany's, which is one of my most favorite movies in the entire world. And they're in Tiffany's and she doesn't want diamonds because she's not old enough. Those are for mature ladies, right? I'm thinking, oh my God, Audrey Hepburn, you can wear whatever you want. Drip with diamonds, my friend. And so she follows that statement up with, but pearls. And I feel like pearls has kind of gone back and forth, right? There was a time period where pearls were, it didn't matter how old you were. And then there was like this whole maybe 20 years or so where pearls were one of those things that like only the older, more mature, more refined of society wore pearls. And thank goodness that is not so anymore, because I still equate pearls with absolute loveliness, right? They're so classic, they're so beautiful, and they work with your blue jeans. And you can wear them to the most elegant places in the whole world. Pearls definitely, in my opinion, falls into the category of princess jewelry. And you guys know how I feel about that. Like, I'm all about the sparkle. I'm definitely the sparkle queen. I've definitely grown out of the role of sparkle princess. So now I can be the sparkle queen. And And that's how I feel about pearls, right? You can wear a single pearl and you've done an amazing thing to your wardrobe. Does that make, like, just a single pearl on a simple chain is the most beautiful, iconic, rich, luxurious look you could ever. Yeah, I could go on and on about pearls. I mean, I just really love them. And I love the freshwater pearls that have such interesting details to them. You know, no two pearls are the same. They all look a little bit different. And so I'm a little bit excited when it comes to the pearls being in season for a whole 2 seasons. But then, like I said, shelf life means a lifetime because pearls are a classic. So yeah, I'm all about it. I have stocked up. When Michaels runs their sales, I stock up on all of their pearls. I noticed Hallcraft was having a sale. They also carry pearls. Like, if you can stock up on them because you're going to be using them quite frequently, particularly if you're selling your jewelry or giving your jewelry away to friends and family. They're going to be everywhere. And the ones that you're going to be finding in like the big stores are going to be pretty simplistic designs, but that's where we can really take our creativity to the next level. We're going to take our pearls and turn them into most amazing, unique, one-of-a-kind designs that people are really going to want. That's what's going to bring people to your booth. That's what's going to bring people to your website. That's what's going to, that's what's going to help pay the bills over the next, 2 seasons. So I thought we would do a few pearl projects this week. In fact, we're going to do 3. So today we're going to do some earrings. On Thursday, we're going to do a necklace. And for Feel Good Friday, haven't decided exactly what we are going to be doing for Feel Good Friday yet, but it will be a pearl project because you asked and you shall receive. So for today's project, we're going to take one of my very favorite techniques in the entire world, which is the herringbone wire wrap. And if you have seen this project once, you've seen this project a million times with me in various forms because I love it so much. Like, favorite all time wire technique because there's so many things you can do with it, but we're going to keep it pretty simple. So we are going to take 2 freshwater pearls. These are they're either 8 or 9 millimeter. They're right in that, I'd say they're probably closer to 9 because they're a little on the chunky monkey side. So I'm using 2 of those. We're using some 24 gauge wire, and then I'm using these little baby 3 millimeter faceted rondelles. You can use whatever you want to. You can use seed beads for this. You can use 4 millimeter beads. It's just going to be a little bit bigger. But I felt like this was such a pretty design, and the herringbone is one of those things that I want you to learn. You so can do this. Do not be intimidated by the herringbone wire wrap because once you learn the basics, you can take it everywhere. You can take it to a million places. So that's what we're going to do. Okay. This is our project for today. All right. Are they flat pearls? They are not. Check that out. It's a regular big old bulky pearl, as round as possible. You can do this with coin pearls. It looks absolutely beautiful. I love coin pearls. But nope, we're going to use just big old chunky monkey round ones. And if you don't have freshwater ones, it looks just as beautiful with glass pearls, right? No pearl left behind. We don't discriminate when it comes to pearls. All pearls are good pearls. Okay, so let's get started. I think you're going to see this is easier than what you might expect, okay? There are no jump rings involved. This is all straight wire. So I like projects like that because we can save our materials. All right, I'm going to turn you guys around. All right, let's get started. So I'm going to adjust everything a little bit, bring in my little beads here, and try to move this cord out of the way. Unfortunately, I have to have the cord plugged in. I wish I could just unplug it. Becky says she loves pearls. That's her birthstone. So lucky. So lucky. All right, so here's just an up-close look at our earring before we get started. So we're going to start with our center pearl, right? And we're going to wire wrap on both sides, and then we're going to frame this with 2 wire wraps. Kristen says, go Kansas City. Yes. We're going to frame this with a couple of wire wraps, and then we're going to do 2 layers of beads. And let me just tell you, if you don't have enough beads to go around twice, it looks really beautiful with just 1 as well. Let me kind of show you what the back looks like so that you can get an idea of the amount of wire wrapping that we're doing, because it absolutely is minimal. We're going to be doing quite a few wire wraps around, but as far as like the extra wire wraps, there's really only 4 extra wraps on the top and the bottom. And then we're going to do the pearl on the bottom as a single drop with some more of that herringbone. So that part, we're actually going to wire wrap it directly to this part. So we need to start with our center pearl here. Okay, so what you're going to need is some 24 gauge wire. You can do herringbone wire wrap with any gauge wire that you want. But if you were just starting out, I really recommend going with the 24 gauge just because it is so much easier to work with. And I'm using the German style wire. The artistic wire can be a little tricky. Okay. What size are the pearls? Maria, I believe my pearls are 9mm. They were in a stash of mine that was marked 8 to 9mm. I would even caution to say they may be 10mm. Like, these are big guys. I'm just telling you what it said in my little container, but I mean, I've had them for a while, so they're pretty big. They're a pretty big size pearl. And you can do this with any size pearl. You don't have to use exactly what I've got. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we want to take about 24 inches of our 24 gauge German style wire. And we are, gosh, I hope that was 24 inches. Always worries me when I do this kind of project that I'm going to run out of wire. So you might actually see me do this twice if that's the case here. It's hard to kind of measure how much wire herringbone is going to take, particularly if you are, using a different size bead. The bigger the bead, the more wire, obviously. It's really hard to keep the measurement straight. So just keep in mind, like, my measurement for you is just kind of a general guide, and you may need more or less depending on the size of your pearls and your crystals for that matter. Okay, so I'm going to come down on my wire more than what we normally do, because normally when we're just making a wrapped loop on the end of something, we only need to come down about 1.5 inches to 2 inches. Because we need to do about 11 wire wraps, I'm actually going to come down a little bit further. Okay, so I'm going to come down more like 2.5 to 3 inches, just to be sure that I have plenty of wire to wrap with. I'm going to grab with my chain nose pliers, and I'm going to start this out exactly like I would any other wire wrapped loop. So I'm making my backwards 7 here. Okay, and I'm going to come in with my round nose pliers. Okay, and I'm just holding the wire. It's between the barrel of the pliers. I'm going to take this wire, the short section of the wire, and go up and over the top barrel of the pliers. Now notice I'm not moving the tool. I'm only moving the wire to go up and over. Okay, but now I need to take this wire all the way over to create a loop, but the bottom barrel of the pliers is in the way. So in order to fix that, I need to roll the pliers out of the way. Now I can take the wire over, and that's going to give me a nice loop, right? So if I take it off of the tool, that's what we've got. Now we've got plenty of the tail here that we're going to use. I'm going to switch hands, okay? I'm going to use my right hand, and I'm going to take that short section of wire to wire wrap around the long section. And we want to do about 11 wire wraps, okay? So there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. I'm going to go one more just for good measure. Okay. And it doesn't matter if those wire wraps are perfect. You can see how some of mine have some little spacing in between there where they're open. Totally fine, okay? It's okay because we're going to cover all that up. Nobody's going to see it. So if your wire wraps are crazy insane, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Ultimately, you're not going to see them. They're going to be hidden by all of your beads. And you can give yourself a break with that. You don't need to worry. So I'm going to trim off the tail. Okay, now I'm going to thread on my bead. Okay, so I'm going to bring my pearl, thread that onto the wire. I can help you guys here in just a second. I saw that question go by. I just wanted to get kind of started first. So I did see the question, what is German style wire? And that is a fantastic question. Let me go ahead and do the wire wraps on the other side here, and then we'll stop for just a second so that I can address that. Okay. Don't want you to think I'm ignoring you. I saw it. Okay, so now I want the exact same amount of wraps. And I say exact, and I mean that in the most loose sense, like not exact. I want close to, forget I said exact at all. I want close to the same amount of wire wraps on this side, right? But in order to do that, I kind of have to guess or bring in my ruler, right? I'm just going to eyeball it and guess. So I'm going to bring my pliers out away from my bead in what I think is pretty much the same amount of space, okay? If you are a stickler for measuring, bring your ruler out and measure the space here, but I'm just gonna eyeball it because I like to live dangerously. So I go ahead and make my bend in the wire, and then I'm going to proceed with the same steps here to make a wrapped loop on this end, okay? Up and over. I'm really afraid I'm not gonna have enough wire for this, but we'll try. I feel like I cut my wire a little short. Okay, and then we're just going to wire wrap. And I'm not even going to count because I don't want to know. I don't want to know if I was right or wrong, right? Just wire wrapping in that space there is good enough for me. In fact, I do it kind of willy-nilly because I don't want to admit that maybe I misjudged, right? Totally okay. All right, so now we've got our bead centered between some wire wraps. Okay, so what is happening? You guys are so funny. Oh my gosh. Sara's wire wraps are so beautiful. Really? That? Wanda. Oh gosh, you guys are cracking me up. Okay, so before we move forward though, okay, let's address the question because it's a perfectly good question. And I do get asked this question very frequently, and I'm never annoyed to answer this question ever. Like, I bet I get asked this question at least 3 times, probably every 2 or 3 months. And that's great. I want you to know the answer to this, okay? Because it's important, and this could definitely make or break your jewelry. So the difference between German style wire and artistic wire and craft wires is that, let me bring in my spool here. So you can buy German style wire. I get it in bulk from my wonderful employer at Beadalon. And Wanda was like, I'm drooling over that big spool. Yeah, don't. I get mine, because I work for them. You can buy them in these big spools, but I mean, honestly, if you are just making jewelry, for fun, and it's not something that you have to do as a job, you don't need this much. You really don't. This spool lasts me a really, really long time. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. You find it in smaller packaging is just what I'm getting at. So don't go looking for this packaging necessarily. A lot of times the German style wire will come in a blister pack. So it'll be on an actual card with the plastic cover over the front of it, okay? Anyway, the German style wire, and somebody did kind of answer this, a couple of you chimed in, and that makes me so happy because it means that you guys are learning and and I love that. I'm so glad that everybody is, getting educated on wire. So it is medium temper. Right? So what does that mean? Well, it means that it does have a little bit of a temper to it, and it is a little bit more rigid than your artistic wires and your craft wires. Artistic wires and craft wires are considered dead soft. They have no rigidity to them whatsoever. They have no temper to them at all. They are very flexible, malleable, and bendable, which is awesome depending on what you're going to use it for. So, in my opinion, artistic wires are great for things like decorative. It's really a wonderful accent. You can use it for wire wrapping, and I feel like a lot of people do just because they don't know what German style wire is. But then I also find that those people tend to struggle a bit right? Because they've never used German style wire before. So if you are struggling with your wire wrapping, if you're struggling with your wrapped loops, it may be that you need to try the German style wire. The addition of the temper to the wire makes it ideal for wire wrapping, even if it's just as simple as making wire wrapped loops, but then all the way up to the most intricate wire wrap designs that you've ever seen. It is specifically designed for that kind of thing. So I most often use German style wire for almost everything that I do, unless I want to add a pop of color or, I'm doing some sort of specialty design and I'll reach for the artistic wires. The German style wires are kind of limited in their colors. You're only going to be able to get these in some silver colors, gold color, copper, hematite, I believe, and the antique brass. So you're just going to get your core metal colors in your German style wire. However, your artistic wires and your craft wires are going to come in a wide variety of colors. It's like a coloring box. You're going to get every color you could possibly think of. Artistic wire comes in satin colors that are kind of silvery, and then they also come in just like your regular colors. There's a real designation between the two, and I should be able to give you those words, and I just can't because I can't find them in my head. But the point is that they are colored and they are soft, and they are going to be great for all kinds of crafting. You can even use them in paper crafting and other crafts. Whereas this wire is specifically designed for things like this, where we need that structure. We don't want it to bend out of shape. We want to be able to use even the smallest gauge and still have a structure that is there that, yes, we can work harden, but it doesn't need nearly as much work hardening as an artistic wire, which is a dead soft wire, is going to need. I always tell people, give it a try. Right? Even if you're perfectly happy and content with your artistic wire and your craft wire with your wire wrapping, that's great. And I'm really glad, but try it and see. It behaves completely differently, right? It is just a different feeling altogether. But I find that my loops are more round, my wraps are more tight, and it behaves the way it is designed to behave. Whereas sometimes, particularly with a project like this, my wire would already be bending down. Like it would already be kind of drooping, and, the wire wraps on it just wouldn't be behaving, and it would be causing me more struggle than it's worth, right? So just making the right decision in the wire can change your whole attitude about it. If you're struggling, don't struggle. Don't think it's you. Try a different wire. That can make all the difference in the world. So I know that was kind of a long-winded explanation, but it's really important, and I want people to know the differences. I feel like it's probably the number one thing in wire wrapping that everyone should know, right? Everybody should understand the difference between the two. It is. Wanda says German style wire is a game changer. It absolutely 110% is a game changer. And I stand behind that from now until the end of time. Like, that's no joke. It's for real. Okay, so let's move on with our project now that we have covered all of that. Okay, let's talk about the technique for the herringbone wire wrap. So one of the things that you're gonna need to do with your German style wire and your herringbone wire wrap is you want to make sure that your wire is kink free. And so a lot of times if I'm doing this, I will grab my nylon jaw pliers just to have them on hand to kind of straighten out. And again, that's another great thing about the German style wire is it doesn't make those crazy little bends and get all wonky on me like the artistic wire does. Karen says, where do you get your bulk wire? I get mine from Beadalon.com. And you can get the 4th pound. That's what the big ones are. You can get the 4th pound, or you can get them in the smaller packaging. Okay, so the wire is wrapping around this little stick here that we created, and the wire is coming from behind and out the front, right? We're going this direction. I don't have an affiliate link though, guys, but I'm working on it. So it's coming from the back around to the front, okay? And you can see, just want to give you a really good close-up because that's what's really important here. Joy, I'm still here. You're still here. I'm still here. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to take that wire that's coming out this direction, okay, and I want to bend it very carefully up against the side of the bead, okay, laying it up against the side of the bead as close as I can get it, okay, right? There's no real space between the wire and the bead. You want it to be nice and snug. Now, I'm coming down here to the bottom of the bead and I'm placing my wire in front of the wire wraps that are down here, right? So we're going in front. We always want to be in front with herringbone wire wrap. So I'm going to hold everything in place. I'm going to wrap that wire around to the back and then back out to the front. Okay, so now we're back in the front again. I just kind of locked in that first wire wrap around the side of the bead. Okay, we're going to repeat this step. We're going to go up the other side of the bead. So lay the wire along the side of the bead. Okay, really snug, right up close. Okay, now back in front. Okay, the wire is laying in front of all the wire wraps down here. Round and back out to the front. So now we've locked in 2 wire wraps, 1 on each side. Okay. Now, I'm going to go again. This time, I want to go behind the first wrap that I just made. Okay. Lay that wire behind the first. Same thing up here to the front of the wire wraps, around and back out. Okay. So you can see. And we want to do the same thing going behind the wire wrap that we made. Up to the front, in front of the wire wraps, around and back out the front. Okay, so now we've made 2. And you can see what happens is, and this is why it's called herringbone, because it's hard to see when you don't have bead, or when you've got beads. We're going to add beads, so we're not really going to get a whole lot of that effect. But you can see how if we continued to build our wire in the same way without adding beads, right? You can see how it looks like a bone, or it looks like fish bones. That's why it's called herringbone. It looks like fish bones. If you continue to build and your wire wraps build on top of each other and you kind of spread out with your wire wraps around the back, it begins to look like the bones of a fish. So that's definitely where the name comes from. I know it's really hard to tell. Like you can kind of see on the bottom one here. See how that's, if we had kept going, it really looks like the bones of a fish. That's where the name comes from. Okay. All right. So, and by the way, it looks beautiful if you don't add beads. So if you didn't want to add beads to this and you just wanted to fill this entire thing up with wire, you absolutely can do that and it looks amazing. But I am going to add some beads to this. So we've done 2 wraps on either side of our herringbone. Now we're going to fill up our wire with some of these beads. So let me dump them out so that I can very easily get to them. Okay. So I just have these kind of blue. It's a really funny kind of blue color, but I really, really love it. I'm going to add, I believe, 10 beads, but it's not everybody's are going to be the same. Okay. Depending on the size of your beads and a lot of other things. So there's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. It may need 1 more, may need 1 less. Jane, yes, I can see your comments. What'd you say, my friend? Did I miss something? Guys, don't let me miss anything. Hi, Bethany. Oh, Jane says she's excited to see me do the herringbone. It's been a minute, right? I love herringbones so much. Okay, so now I'm going to treat this exactly the same way, okay? But it's not necessarily going to go behind the wraps that I just made because now we have more bulk here. I just want to kind of guide it around the edge of the bead, okay? And it's okay if it's not exactly behind your wire wraps. You want to get it pretty close. But with your beads, it's going to take up a little bit more room, and it is going to kind of hide those two wire wraps. That's okay. You just want to be sure that you've got enough beads to fill up one side, whether it takes 10, whether it takes 11, whichever, however many it takes is how many you're going to use, right? So same thing, bringing the wire to the front of the wire wraps down here, around and back out the front. Okay, so we just locked those beads in place. Now we're going to do the other side. So I'm going to come in and fill up my wire again with 10 beads. Now here's the thing about the wire, or the herringbone wire wrap with beads. Sometimes it's going to be exactly the same amount of beads on both sides. Sometimes it might be one off, or one, it might be one more extra or one less. And I'm not entirely sure why that happens, but it does. So a lot of times I don't even pay attention to how many beads. I'll just start filling my wire up with the beads. And if they are, if they're off by one on one side or the other, I'm okay with it. Just don't even count them. Just fill up the wire. That's all that matters. Nobody is going to be close enough to you to want to count out each bead and be like, oh, by the way, did you know that your design is off by one bead on one side? Nobody's going to do that. Stephanie says, what size are the beads? So the pearls, I believe, are a 9, maybe even a little bigger. The little beads, these guys are little 3mm rondelles. They're very, very small. All right. So again, in front of the wire wraps here, we need to lock this one in place. So just around and then back out. Now, like I said, looks beautiful with just one round of beads. So if we had done less of the wire wrapping on either end, right, and had loops, how pretty would that look just by itself? But I really like the addition of the extra beads. So we're going to go around another layer of beads here. And you can go, that being said, you can go as many times around as you want, right? You can build this out as much as you want to. You just have to make your adjustment in the space of your wire wraps in the beginning. So if you want a shorter section of herringbone, then you're going to do less wire wraps in the very, very beginning, meaning where your wrapped loop is, okay? You'll do less. If you want to make a bigger, wider, more bead herringbone, then you want this section that you started with to be a little bit longer. Okay. All right. So I lost my beads. Let me pick those back up. Okay, now instead of going behind when we're doing this, since we're using beads, we want these to go to the outer edge. If you're using just plain wire, you want the wire to always go behind the last wrap that you made. But with beads, you don't want that, because you don't want your beads to be hidden. You want your beads to be, part of the design. So you want those beads to go on the out edge of the last bead row, the last bead section that you made. Right, so instead of like taking them back behind, we want them to go along the edge. Okay, and we may have, let's see, I think we have one too many. I'm just going to slide it over. I don't have to take it all the way off. I can hold on to it. Wire wrap, that was front, right? Always to the front of the wire wraps. Then I can drop that bead down and just start adding more beads to that. Okay. So we're just going to add on and I hope I use all the beads I have here. Don't know if I will need any extras, but I do have my strand in case. Okay. Now, I do want to kind of coax the wire into that curve shape before I start like getting close to the row, so I don't have to fight with it nearly as much. So Push that one to the front of the wire wraps and wrap around, okay? Just to get it secure. Now, I do want to take a little bit extra of the wire, wrap around maybe 1 or 2 more times down here. I'm gonna take my pliers, turn my loop to face the front, and I did end up with extra wire, which is good because I was afraid. And then I'm gonna come around here to the back and trim off what's left, okay? So this is what we have so far. We've got our centerpiece ready to go. Again, just want to adjust the loops so that all the loops are, or both loops are facing in the right direction, okay? Now, you can, let's see, Nicole says, can bicones be used? Yes, yes, yes. Oh, Sharon says she's late to the herringbone party. Sharon loves herringbone, so I'm so glad you're here, Sharon. All right, but here's what we've got, okay? And you'll notice that this one is actually a little bit longer than this one, but honestly, once the whole earring is put together, you're never even gonna notice it. But I do wanna take a look at the back so you can kind of see what the back looks like. Even though it is clearly the back, it's not a hot mess, right? So if my earring like flips over and somebody accidentally sees the back, I'm okay with it, right? It's still, you know, it still looks okay. I mean, it's clearly the back. But, you know, you don't have to be worried that, oh gosh, there's such a mess on the back of my earring. The herringbone really beautifully works out that way to not be an absolute disaster on the back, which I like, you know, because it keeps you from being self-conscious about your jewelry, as silly as that might sound. I know some of you are like that. I can be that way. Okay, so our center portion is ready to go. And that's actually all there is to do to this. However, if you wanted to not hang a bead from the bottom of this, you can take your pliers, and I've done this to other designs. I like it just like it is, but I don't want to add a dangle to it. If you don't want to add a dangle to it, you can just bend that to the back and tuck it, and nobody will ever know it even existed. But we're going to use ours, so we're going to keep ours. We don't want it tucked to the back, but you absolutely can do that, right? Just use your pliers, tuck it to the back, and then kind of flatten it down up against the wire on the back, and nobody will ever see it. And you've still got this beautiful design, but you've gotten rid of the loop on the bottom. Okay. So now we're going to do another pearl to hang from this, right? So here's where we're going. We're almost done. We just need to do the bottom pearl. The bottom pearl is still herringbone, but the difference is that we're only doing one wire wrapped loop, right? You can see there's only one wire wrapped loop with this, and our wraps go all the way around the pearl instead of doing it a side at a time, okay? So I'm going to show you how to do that. We're going to take our pearl. We're going to need another piece of our 24 gauge wire. We're going to use about, I don't know, 10, 12 inches. That's probably going to be a little bit more than what you actually need, but better to be safe than sorry with this. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start this out exactly the same way, but we don't need as much room since we're not going to fill it up with beads. So remember how we did 11, 12 wraps here? On this, we only need like 6, okay? So I'm going to come down on my wire a little bit, start my wrapped loop, and instead of all 11 of those wraps, we're going to cut that in half, okay? So holding the wire around those pliers up and over, we're going to roll the pliers out of the way and take the wire over to close up our loop. I'm going to switch hands, and now we're going to do about 6 wire wraps. Okay. So that's all you're going to need for this one, right? Now I'm going to come in with my cutter tool. I'm going to trim off the tail, and I'm going to thread my pearl on. Okay. All right, so now we're not going to do another wrapped loop down here like we did. So what are we going to do? Well, we're just going to start wrapping. Oh no, but you know what I forgot? We needed to do this directly on to our, I'm glad I realized it. All right, let's back up. Let's back up. Let me cut another piece of wire. No problem. Okay, hold on everybody. Let's try this again because we want these 2 pieces wire wrapped directly to each other. Okay, so I'm going to bend the wire and Sorry about that. I got a little ahead of myself. All right, up and over. Roll the wire, take it over. Okay, now we want to take this and thread it through one of the loops on the piece we just finished. And then we just want to very carefully slide those two loops together, okay? Now, I do need to come in with my bent chain nose pliers to hold on to that loop. Okay, just to keep everything out of, keep everything out of the way. So I'm going to grab the loop with the bent chain nose pliers. I'm going to switch hands. Okay, kind of keep my finger on the finished section just to make sure it doesn't get in my way. And now we're going to go into those 6 wraps. Now, if you wanted to keep going like I was going before, you could just attach those 2 pieces together with a jump ring instead, right? Your bottom bead to your top beaded section. But I'm kind of partial to having them wire wrap directly to each other. Okay. All right. So now we're going to add our bead. So thread your pearl on, bring it down, let it sit right up against. Now, the only thing about this is that you do have to take into consideration that you're working around this guy. He's going to try to be in the way. So you just kind of have to push him out of the way and not let it be too distracting, okay? Okay, so you also want to take into consideration what's the front and what's the back, because you want all the clean part of your wire wrapping to be on the front. So that's going to be... Hold on. That's going to be this guy. Okay. All right. Now my wire is exiting the bottom of my bead. I'm going to take the wire along the edge of my bead, just like I would have if we had wrapped around the wire wraps at the bottom. Okay. Coming to the front of the wire wraps, around, and then back out. Okay. So all we did was just wrap around half of the bead, just like we did before, right? But without the extra wire wraps on the bottom. So now this time when we go around the bead, we're going to go all the way around the bead instead of just half. So we're going to lay the wire up against the bead. And then when we get to the bottom, we're going to go behind the wrap that we already made, back up behind it, up here to the top where the wire wraps are, in the front, around the back, and out. Okay, so one side of your bead will have one side of your bead will have 2. Okay, now we're going to go again, going down the side of the bead behind the wire wrap that's already there. We're to the bottom of the bead, behind the 2 wraps that are there on the other side. Okay, back up to the front, or the top rather, where our wire wraps are, going in front of the wire wraps, around and back out. And that's it. Right? Well, it's upside down. Oh no, you guys were gone for a second? I didn't even notice. Now, I do notice one thing though. This wire wrap was not quite in the right place now that I've turned it around. So I'm just going to undo it and reposition it and then wrap around. Okay, and then I'm going to go around one more time just for good measure. I do need to straighten up my loop here, but before I do that, I'm going to come to the back and trim off. Okay, and now we're looking at the front, and you can see my little loop there. It's a little lopsided. That's okay. I'm going to come in with my pliers and just kind of straighten it up a little bit. No problems. And you'll notice that loop is going the opposite direction of the bottom loop, which is exactly what we want, so that everything hangs the correct way. Okay, so there is that. And that's, guys, that's it. All we have to do is just add our ear wire to this and we're finished. So anybody who lost connection, I didn't notice that you guys were gone. A lot of times when I lose connection on my end, the little screen will spin and it'll tell me. So I'll stop talking until you come back. I didn't know you guys were gone. So if there was something that you missed, I definitely would encourage you to check out the replay. Just because I didn't know. I'm so sorry. I had no idea some of you were gone. So if you missed something, definitely go back. Now I'm going to come in, I'm going to attach my ear wire to this, and we're going to call this done. And I want to see you guys do this. I know that even my beginners out there, I know you can do this. I know you can. You can use whatever beads you've got in your stash. You can use seed beads on the outer edges if you want to. You don't have to add beads at all. You can change up your pearls. They can be coin pearls. They could be, I don't know, they could be big, huge Swarovski rounds if you wanted to. But I know that you guys can make this design. I absolutely know it. I'm going to turn you around. We're going to try them on so you guys can see them. Okay. Adjust the lights just a little bit. Lisa says she has a question unrelated to this project. What is your question, my darling? Now is the time to ask. Yeah, you guys, Jane's right. Jane says you will love the herringbone. You will. You absolutely will. And this is just the beginning of what you can do with herringbone. Herringbone is one of those things that, like, once you learn the basic, then you can run and do all of these insane things. You know, just amazing, amazing designs with this technique that really, to me, makes wire wrapping so much fun. It is one of those techniques that, like, you learn the basics, but then you can add your own spin and twist to it and take it to a very artistic place, which I really love. Like, so exciting. All right. So there are the finished ear. Are those beautiful, right? They're beautiful. Like, I almost didn't get the words out of my mouth. They really are gorgeous earrings and perfect for spring. Pearls, they're going to be absolutely everywhere. You can do this with glass pearls. You can do this with freshwater pearls. You can do it with whatever you want to. You don't even have to make it pearls if you don't want to. We're just kind of focusing on that because that was what someone asked for this week. And I'm always happy to, you know, give you guys what you ask for sure. So yeah, I think they turned out really well. You guys, you can do this. You can do this. I know you can. And I want to see all of the herringbone wire wrapping that you do, whether you do it like this or you turn it into something completely different. I want to see it. Post it in the group. Post it over on the Sara Ellis Designs page. Yeah, I want to see, because I know you can. Even those of you who are like, oh, I'm going to have to watch the replay a few times. It's not as hard as you think it is. I promise you. And if you have problems, you know where you can find me. I'm more than happy to help you out. That's education is number one with me. So I absolutely can help you. Do not hesitate to reach out. No question is a dumb question. The only dumb questions there are the ones that do not get asked. I know you probably had a teacher in your life who said that to you. I'm gonna second that. All right, let me roll back just a second. Maggie says, have you ever worked with Del Cougar? I have not. I know her and I have met her a few times, but I've never worked with her, no. Let's see. What would you make? Kristen wants to know, what would you make with half round versus round wire? That's a really good question, and goes right along really well with the German style versus artistic wire question, because half round wire most of the time is I don't think I've ever seen I know there isn't any in artistic wire. I know there's not half round in artistic wire. However, there may be other brands out there that make a half round wire. I'm not sure what the temper is on it, but Beadalon's half round wire is German style wire. And the German style half round is made for bundling, right? It works beautifully. So it's flat on one side and it's half round on the other side, so that when you use it to wrap around things, it gives it that round wire appearance, but you've got that flat structure, which makes it a little bit easier when you're bundling wires together. So if you're going to be bundling, you know, a stack of 4 or 5 square wires, or you're going to do 4 or 5 round wires, and you need that flat surface to help with the structure of what you're doing, the half round wire is great for that. I generally don't use half round wire just because I don't do a whole lot of that kind of wire wrapping. I did in a previous life. I just haven't with you guys, because those are really kind of advanced techniques that are kind of difficult to show during a Facebook Live. But you know, that's definitely where I would use half round wire. I wouldn't use it for wire wrapping, like doing wrapped loops or things like that. It's really just a covering wire. In my opinion, I use it as a covering wire. So I hope that helped. I hope that helped a little bit. I feel like there's probably some other questions. Can you solder German style wire? You cannot. And the reason is because it's a coated wire. It isn't a raw natural wire. It actually has a coating on the outside of it. So soldering doesn't really work with it. You really kind of have to have your natural copper, or a sterling silver, just from my experience. You're welcome to try, but from my experience, I don't solder a lot. I'm a cold connection kind of person, just because I don't, it's the added thing for me to get hurt on. Blades, flames, those things. I tend to be butterfingery with those kinds of things. So, I just generally don't work in that, in that area. But from my experience, you can try. I've just not had very good luck with it at all. Let's see here. That being said, you also cannot make your own, like the ball head pins. You know what I'm talking about? So like if you have a piece of copper and you can melt the tip of the copper to make a ball for a head pin, you can't do that with the German style wire either, just in case you were curious. And you cannot pickle it or you can use patina paints on it, but you can't pickle it and do like that kind of patina unless it is the raw copper, or sterling silver. And the sterling silver, I don't think we've got sterling silver in the German style wire. But let's see. Burning down the house. Yes, that's what it would be. Well, it probably wouldn't be, I probably wouldn't like be that unlucky. I don't know though, knock on wood. But I could see myself with like a 3rd degree burn on a hand. And yeah, let's see. Is it in the January? What are y'all talking about? Is it in the January project group? Oh, I see. You guys are having a conversation about something completely different. Oh, Christine has to go shovel some snow. I'd gladly take your snow. It's almost 70 degrees here today. Can you believe that? We had thunderstorms last night. Like, where is my winter? Come back, winter. Lana says, oi, I gotta go shovel sunshine. Oh, goodness. Send me your snow. I'll take your snow any day. All right, guys, that's it for me today. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you enjoyed this project. You guys, I want to see it. I want to see it. I know you can do this. I want to see it. So if you venture into the world of herringbone wire wrapping, please post your projects in the Sara Ellis Designs group. If you're not part of the group, come join the group. There's so much love and support and inspiration. You guys are amazing. So yeah. Jenna says, how did I like that game on Sunday? Okay, so let me talk about the game just for a second, for those of you who are interested. So we're talking about the Chiefs game. Go Chiefs. At first, right, when they, at the very beginning, I'm not gonna lie, the Bills were up by 9. I was a little concerned, but by the end of that first quarter, I was like, oh, we've got this in the bag. Easy peasy pumpkin squeezy. And I'm so happy. I can't believe we're going to the Super Bowl again. I'm so excited. And you guys, I get to watch the Super Bowl from my house this year. Last year, I had to watch it in the airport. This year, I actually get to see it in my house from my couch with my own snacks. I'm super excited. So, yes. Kristen said you kicked our butts. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But your quarterback's a little cutie patootie. Just gonna say. No, he's not as handsome as my Patrick. But yeah, cutie patootie nonetheless. Ella says go Bucks, don't block me. I never would, you guys. All football is good football, right? All right, Linda. Yes, that's my fellow fan there is Miss Linda. She says that she's excited for the Chiefs. It's on my bucket list, guys. One of these days I'm going to go. I'm going to go and see the Chiefs play in person. I can't wait. I don't know when that's going to happen, but yeah, one of these days when we don't have to wear masks anymore. All right, that's it. Enough. I'm going to go. You guys have a wonderful rest of the afternoon. I will not be here tomorrow because it's our Wednesday off. But you can catch me on Jewel Loom tomorrow, 4 p.m. for a Jewel Loom Facebook Live if you want to. Can't wait to see them make Brady cry. That's kind of how I feel too. Go away, Tom Brady. Just go. Just go. Anyway, yes, I did say my Patrick. Yes, I did. Okay, enough already. Have a wonderful afternoon. I'll see you guys on Thursday with another project where we are actually going to be knotting some pearls using the Beadalon knotter tool. So if you want to learn how to hand knot some pearls, come hang out. I'm going to show you how I do it, which is not probably the way everybody else does it, but it's still going to be fun. We're going to make a really cool bracelet with a leather tassel, and it'll be beautiful, and we'll have a good time, as always. All right, guys, I will see you guys soon. Bye, guys.